In September 2022, Disney and board game company Ravensburger revealed a new trading card game revolving around our favorite Disney characters. The game is going to be released in fall 2023, which is basically an entire year from when it was announced, giving us a lot of time to think about it and mull it over in our heads. Thus far, very little has actually been revealed about the game, besides its existence, its name, a basic story, and these 7 cards. There's not a lot of information, but if we look closely at each one of these cards and what they say, we can use our powers of deduction to get a glimpse into how the game will be played. So please join me for a deep dive analysis into Disney Lorcana. In Disney Lorcana, you take on the role of an Illumineer who lives at the fantasy location Lorcana, and you have the ability to take Disney characters from the page and bring them to life. The game will use a myriad of cards featuring the Disney characters. Only these 7 have been revealed to us so far, and they are Mickey Mouse, Brave Little Tailor, Stitch, Rockstar, Robin Hood, the Unrivaled Archer, Captain Hook, Forceful Duelist, Elsa, the Snow Queen, Cruella de Vil, Miserable as Usual, and Maleficent, the Monstrous Dragon. Taking a good look at each one of these cards, besides the name, the fantastic artwork, and the description, there are 6 unidentified aspects. The swirly number, the pointy number, the shieldy number, this little icon, the various titles, and these white bits. Starting with this first swirly number in the corner, it seems reasonable to conclude that this will be the card's cost. The cost becomes higher in proportion to the overall stats of the cards. And if you read the abilities of Rockstar Stitch, it says, Shift. You may pay 4 to play this card on one of your Stitch characters. And his ability Adoring Fans, whenever you play a character with cost 2 or less, you may exert it to draw a card. So we know, however it works, that these cards will cost something. One wonders exactly what sort of currency will be used. Will there be a pile of money to the side? Ravensburger has also made a really great game called Disney Villainous that was kind of a trading card board game hybrid, so it wouldn't be unprecedented to use some kind of currency system as before, but it seems a bit clunky for a game that's supposed to be pretty portable. The alternative would be that the necessary legal tender would be in the deck itself as cards. And this seems feasible, but assuming that each currency card may be worth 1, then cards like Maleficent look expensive. But she looks pretty tough though, so perhaps that's accurate. It seems safe to say that this would be the card's defense. That leaves the pointy number to be the card's attack power. Now, it would seem that the battle style of this game will not revolve around damaging your opponents until they're defeated, but will involve a system of challenging and banishing. The basic concept of this would be to use your characters to challenge an opponent's character, and if your character is stronger, then the loser is banished or defeated. At first glance, I would think that if you attacked, then you would see if your attack is higher than your opponent's defense. That would seem right? But, looking at Captain Hook, Forceful Duelist, he has an interesting ability of Challenger +2. When challenging, this character gets +2 attack, likely. But think about it, why would this matter? He gets more attack, but only when challenging. But at what other time would he require attack power unless he is challenging? If it makes a difference as to whether he has a high attack or not at different times, then there must be some game mechanic that your attack power matters during your opponent's turn. It reminds me of another famous trading card game, where your characters could be put into attack or defense mode. If two characters in attack mode fought, you would compare both of their attack, and the weaker one would be defeated. But you could also put them into defense mode, and if attacked, only then would you judge their defense. I wonder if Lorcana will use this system as well. This icon here. Every revealed card has a different icon, except that Mickey and Maleficent share the same one. I believe this icon to simply represent the card's type, though I can't say what each type is or specifically does. For example, perhaps the one that Mickey and Maleficent share are attackers. Robin Hood's icon makes me think agility. It's difficult to defend against this type, perhaps. I suppose it's possible that there's a tactical advantage to battle. Perhaps attackers get a bonus against agile types, but they're weak against swirly purples like Elsa. I feel that there will probably be effect cards besides the characters that will probably say something like, search your deck for a swirly purple and put it in your hand. But who knows? My thoughts are limited with these icons. Next, we have the little various titles under the character's name and picture. These especially seem like they'll be important in conjunction with effect and item cards, assuming that this game will have cards like that. Because there are so many titles here. Dreamborn, Hero, Floodborn, Alien, Pirate, Captain, Queen, that I imagine there will be cards that will say something, perhaps, the Jolly Roger. All pirates get +2 attack. Something like that. I don't think they'll actually affect gameplay on their own, because notice that evasive, as seen on Mickey's card, is not listed with these titles. It's its own effect because it actually seems important in the gameplay. Now, we all know what these words mean, even if we don't know what their effect will be in-game. You're in trouble if you can't tell your heroes from your villains. But there are a few new terms here as well, such as Storyborn, Dreamborn, and Floodborn. Now, what could these mean? If you look at the 3 Storyborn characters that we know of, all 3 of them look as though they came straight from their original stories. So it makes sense that they'd be called Storyborn, characters born of their stories. Now, Dreamborn characters are a little different than how we remember them. Elsa's never had a book with her. Is there a single book in Frozen? Do we even know that she can read? Well, it's been confirmed now. Captain Hook doesn't have his signature hook, but instead has a sword hand and bits of armor. And while we've definitely seen the brave little tailor before in the classic cartoon, he's not Mickey Mouse who lives in Toontown. This is an alternate version. So the Dreamborn are not born of their stories, but out of our wildest dreams. The trickier title is Floodborn. Rockstar Stitch is the only Floodborn revealed so far. The whole flood thing makes me think of the Thinner disaster from Epic Mickey for the Nintendo Wii, where a giant bottle of paint thinner falls on the cartoon world, turning it into a wasteland. Perhaps the story of Lorcana will also involve some sort of inky trouble along the same lines. And did you notice that, unlike every other character, his banner with the titles is pitch black and splattered on like ink? This is very interesting. My idea is that Floodborn is a normal character, but with something special splattered onto them. Like Rockstar Stitch. This could be a normal Stitch, not necessarily from an alternate world, but just dressed like a rock star. And his ability backs this up. His ability being Shift. You may pay for, of whatever currency this may be, to play this on one of your Stitch characters. so you can save a bit of whatever this currency is by slapping Rockstar Stitch on top of another Stitch. This seems very Disney animation, ink and paint style, of adding a bit of ink to a character to change them up. But yes, Floodborn is a very interesting word, so it could mean something entirely different. On the lower right side of the card, each character has a number of small white diamond shapes. They range from 1 to 4 of them, and the number of them doesn't necessarily correlate to the character's cost. It's not obvious as to what they mean, but it could be something as unimportant to gameplay as rarity of the card. Maybe Elsa is a lot more common than Brave Little Tailor. But I think that they will be important, as I couldn't help but notice that it's the same shape as the main Lorcana title. So what if this is how you win? We don't yet know what the win conditions are for Lorcana. Other famous trading card games usually revolve around taking your opponent's health points down to 0, or every time you defeat an opponent's character, you get a point. Get 6 points and you win. But we don't know how to win Lorcana yet. But what if each of these diamonds are a character's value? If you take down Mickey Mouse, you get 4 points. Take down Robin Hood, you get 2. First to, say, 10 points wins. You could take out easy characters, but it might take a while, or you could work to defeat strong characters to get big points. Again, these are theories, and the actual way to win could really be anything for all we know. But this seems like a viable theory, at least. And going a little farther, wouldn't it be fun if, instead of starting with 0 points and racing each other to 10, what if you each started with 5, and each time you defeat a character, you take it from your opponent? And then they could win it back by defeating your characters. That might take a long time, so you would need a time limit, but it's an idea. Of course, not much is known about the gameplay, but we at least have a few clues shown in the character's abilities. As with most trading card games, your turn will likely revolve around drawing a card at the beginning of your turn, playing characters onto the board, and using your characters to challenge your foes and banish them. In a famous trading card game, you have an active character out in the front lines of battle, while the others behind them are on the bench. But only the one in the active spot can attack. Characters like Maleficent, with her Dragonfire ability, when you play this character, you may banish chosen opposing character. Or Cruella de Vil, when the character is challenged and banished, you may return chosen character to the player's hand. This seems like odd wording to me. It doesn't say a chosen character, it just says chosen character. It may very well mean a character of your choosing. Banish a character of your choosing. But because of how it's written, seeing how this game had a lot of epic fantasy terms, banish, challenge, storyborn, and such, it also seems possible that the main character, or active character, may be known as the chosen character. While this theory has merit, there's a few reasons why I don't believe it. With this sort of gameplay, the board would be arranged something like this, with the active, chosen character battling it out while the other characters remain in reserve, ready to move when the chosen character is banished. But the problem is this thing called Exert. In yet another famous trading card game, you would have several characters and items out in the field at once. And when you use one, you take its action, you tap it, and turn it onto its side, showing that it has been used up for this turn. Exert, as a word, means to make an effort, so it seems that this will be a similar mechanic. And that's what makes me think that my chosen character idea would turn out to be incorrect, because of Stitch's ability, Adoring Fans. Whenever you play a character with a cost 2 or less, you may exert it to draw a card. In other words, you can play a character and then go ahead and use them up to draw a card. Meaning that if you didn't use Stitch's ability, that you would normally be able to perform some kind of action with the character. And that means each character will be active, and likely side by side. Elsa's ability to freeze chosen opposing character would make it useful, as it appears to use up an opposing character, making it so they cannot perform an action on their next turn. When Elsa uses this ability of hers, will this exert her? Or will she be able to challenge an opponent after freezing someone? Everyone else's abilities are a bit more passive, so I suspect that she will still be able to do so. But now we have 2 incompatible game mechanics. If the defense mode theory is true, the precedent is to put that character on its side. But the exert theory's precedent is also to put the used character on its side. Now, Lorcana could easily just do something different. But at least for exerting a character, it does seem that they will put a character on their side, as the little icon next to Elsa's freeze seems to show a card being turned. So at least that one seems to be a sure thing. Perhaps a defensive card will turn all the way around. Perhaps exerting a card automatically puts it into defense mode. Perhaps there's no defense mode at all, and the whole attack and defense theory is futility. Ravensburger says that they'll reveal more about the game and how it will be played, and more about the competitive scene sometime in 2023. And I know that Ravensburger has made some quality Disney games in the past, so I have high hopes for Lorcana. Was there anything obvious that I missed? Do you have a theory about how it will work? Let me know in the comments. And until next time.